What's up, guys? Happy New Year's. And I'm just here because I think it's time. Maybe we just have a little discussion about NASCAR, DMR, and what's to be expected in 2017, what's ahead. Um, there is no news that I've seen, which is a little strange. I would have thought that by now DMR would at least put out some kind of teaser or comment about what they're working on and what's to be expected in 2017 as far as NASCAR, Heat, evolution, and where the series is going. I would think that maybe I'm not on Twitter or Facebook, but I don't know. Have they even commented on people's reaction to the first game, to the suggestions people were making, to the things they didn't like? A good developer would at least address these things. Not saying that they have to provide uh, immediate answers, but to at least say, hey, we hear you. We know that people were complaining about things concerning the lack of a paint booth or that the AI, needs some work or the online, whatever the case is, at least you could make some kind of comment to say, we hear you, we're working on it. Even if you don't get into uh, detail. And the fact that they don't seem to be doing that, I don't think they're really paying attention to their consumers, which is the same thing that happened with Utechnics, and that's one of my concerns because Utechnics, they always put out these statements like, "Hey, please tell us your concerns and your opinions. We value them, and we want to know what you think because it's important to us." But they never listened. They never actually did anything. So it was just lip service, and it's all bullshit. So I was hoping that DMR would be different, and from so far from what I see, they seem to be just doing their thing, and it may be another case like Utechnics, where no matter how much we complain, it's not going to make a difference. At the end of the day, this is why I always tell people, you as a consumer have to speak in other ways. It's not just complaining, but this is why I tell people, don't give these people your money in terms of DLC. DLC is just not worth it. Just for some paint schemes and skins. Who actually thinks that the money they spent on DLC is worth it? I didn't. I never buy the DLC. The only people I've ever bought DLC from is like Rockstar Games because their games are so. They make the best games. That's all there is to it. The money you spend on a Rockstar game, you get back tenfold. Who can honestly say that they didn't get their money's worth with GTA? Any of the GTA games? Uh, and they constantly put out DLC, and they haven't charged a dime for any of it. So this idea that we have to accept this garbage from Utechnics or from DMR or anybody is just garbage. We have to break that cycle. If you stop spending money on this garbage, they will have to focus more on the game. So that being said, there's no news so far. We don't really know what DMR is working on, but it's 2017, and I would assume, this is just an assumption, that they are working on the next game as we speak. Now, what do you think they're doing? I would hope that they've taken some criticism to heart and they've actually said, okay, you know what? People want paint booth. We got to do that. We can't put out another. Don't put out another NASCAR game that has no stats. For God's sake, it's a sports game. There's no excuse. You can't keep doing this. Another NASCAR game with no stats would be, for me, the death knell of DMR. Because I will not buy another fucking game from them. If they dare to put out another NASCAR game with no stats, there's no excuse for it. And I know people are big on excusing developers. It's just their first time. They're a small company. It's all bullshit. And you got to stop making excuses for these guys and hold them accountable. And I'm telling you now, if they put out another NASCAR game with no stats, that will be the last time I give these guys my money, ever. So we got to hold these guys accountable. Now, I expect stats. I expect a fucking paint booth. Yes, I do. It's important. And paint booth has been one of the best parts of NASCAR games. Why would you... Who doesn't enjoy making your own paint scheme and then having other people you play with online check out your paint scheme? That's one of the coolest parts of NASCAR games. And Utechnics did it. As terrible as that company is and was, at least they gave you a paint booth. DMR didn't even do that. And their excuse is, we didn't have time, whatever. So guess what? You only get to use that excuse once. And you just had your mulligan. As far as I'm concerned, you put out your first game, so now the structure of the game has been built. You're not starting from scratch like you did last year, so there's no excuse to say, well, we don't have time to do this or that, and we're building a game from scratch. All those excuses are out the window. So now you are building off of what you made last year, which was a glorified demo, but in either case, the main structure of the game has been built. So what I expect from you is to work on the issues, the broken, terrible caution system. You better fix that. That is absolutely broken. Fix the cautions, fix the spotter, and the career mode presentation. I expect to see more presentation. Well, any presentation would be more than what we got, but presentation, stats, pre-race, post-race commentary. You gotta flesh this game out. You can't just put out another fucking demo and updated paint schemes and call it a day. That's not gonna fly. So I expect a ton of work to be done to flesh this game out. So stats, all these things. All right, paint booth. And as far as online, now the two things I'm going to say, and I'm going to reiterate, that the things I gave credit to DMR for, which was the offline AI and the online, the being able to actually get 40 players in the races, you accomplished something which is commendable. But that's not enough. That's not enough. So now you know you can have 40 players online. It works. But the rest of the online needs work. And you gotta have a way to at least give players the option to implement cautions or not. This whole thing with no cautions online is not working. At least give people the option that if they want to have cautions, that it'll happen. I've joined. There's a lot of players that I've raced against online. And these are good, decent guys trying to race clean for the most part. So even though there's a lot of jerks online, I've met a lot of decent guys, and we've tried to run leagues. And I'm telling you now, I've joined 4 different leagues, and I haven't been able to finish a league at all. Because after 2 or 3 weeks, people become frustrated, and they quit, and then you end up joining another league, and you're trying to do these cautions based on just calling them out amongst yourselves, and it's just always a fucking mess. So I don't even play the game anymore. Very rarely do I get on still, because it's just unplayable. And the online, as much as I praise the AI, it needs a lot of work. It still does. First of all, the AI, they don't spread out as much as I thought they were going to. Judging it based on the early footage, that when they first started releasing footage, it looked good. But as I've played the game and I've put a lot of time into it, the AI, they don't spread out. Sometimes you'll be 20, 30 laps into a run and these cars are still bunched up. You got to break these cars apart. It's not realistic. Realistically, after 5 or 6 laps at the majority of tracks, realistically, cars, they should be spreading apart. You shouldn't be racing a fucking pack. Also, the AI, the way you've programmed it, I would say 85% of the time, the cars want to run the bottom no matter what. So the only passes you can make are high. You should be able to make passes on the bottom as well. These cars need to spread out more and run different lines. So as good as the AI is, it's a lot of room for improvement. So you got to improve that. The spotter is horrendous, and there are times where I'm waiting and waiting for the spotter to, because I race purely in cockpit mode. So I don't know if someone's next to me till it's too late. I want to hear that fucking spotter talk to me at all times, just like they do in real life. So fix that spotter and fix the fucking horrendous engine sounds. It's 2017. You can't implement realistic NASCAR engine sounds. I've had it. These generic weak engine sounds. There's no place for them anymore. Okay? It's 2017. We've come a long way as far as technology. There's no excuse. Everything falls on you. Any weakness on the game is your fault now, because you have technology to make things happen and better. Other developers do it with their games. You need to step up. Okay? Also, just an idea for online. There has to be a way to where you can run a league. In other words, have a page where if you want to run a league, you can host a league and people can sign in with their tag, with their name tag, right? So if it's your PSN tag or your Xbox tag, whatever the case may be, once you sign into that league, whenever they race, you are part of that league. I want fucking stats, full statistics, full points. So now everything is on a page. So when you race, everything takes care of itself. So there's points and there's a standings, and then you can set it up so that every week or whatever it is, the host can set it up so that you know when the race is going to happen. You can even get like some kind of instant message or something if you're playing and you're like, oh, listen, there's a race tonight, 8 o'clock, whatever it is. And then if you don't make it to the race, you automatically get a DNF. So if you don't make it, you get a DNF and you race the next time, whatever it is. But give people a way to run an organized league. I know Technics was supposed to do it. I don't think it ever happened. Again, it's one of those things that they promised and never delivered. That's what you should do with online, just to make it more playable. Right now, it's just you just jump in a race. It's a big wreck fest. It's a fucking mess. So at least with an organized league, it would give people an incentive to race differently, because now there's points, and it'll make it more interesting. Also, the statistics, I personally would make it so that you would only get statistics, all right, to count. And I'm not just talking about league racing, but like just single races on online multiplayer. Make it so that the only way you get statistics is if you run 50% or longer races. In other words, if you only run a 25% race or one of these sprints, which is what 99.9% of the racing online is just these quick sprints, couple of laps, big wreck fest, you don't get fucking stats for that. So you can compile statistics as a player online, but only if you run 50% or longer races. That would give people a lot more of an incentive to race clean, because now you're not just racing for a win. Okay, you're racing for a top 5. You have a rating system. So if you're wrecking people and you're trying to win, it's like right now it's all or nothing. There's no incentive. It's like if you finish second, it doesn't fucking matter. It's like finishing last. There's no incentive. There's no statistics. There's nothing to give you like, hey man, I need to race a little cleaner, be a little more careful, because you know what? The chances of me winning this race isn't really big, but at least if I could get a top 3, top 5, top 10, my rating. It helps my rating as a driver. And believe it or not, statistics matter in video games. All right? Statistics are important, and it's something that NASCAR game developers have forgotten. The last time we had a NASCAR game with statistics was 2009. That's an embarrassment and a joke in a sports game. So I think if you did that for online, it would so much improve the experience. And the offline career mode, all these suggestions I've made in the other videos, I'm not going to go through all of them again, but I want a paint booth, I want stats, and I want presentation. And improve the AI. Because I would like to play this game again, but I pop it in once in a blue moon. Because I'm like such a hardcore NASCAR fan that I have to get a fix. And that's all we have. Okay? I don't have a PS3 anymore, so I can't. And even if I did, the Utechnics games were horrendous. So I would love to play like NASCAR 2005 Thunder. If I could play that again, I would spend time on that. That's how great that game was. But we don't have that option. It's fucking 2017, and this is where we are. So I hope DMR has listened to our voices, to our suggestions, to our complaints. And I would like to hear from them. Put out some kind of statement. Let your fans know or your consumers know that, hey, we recognize that people had issues with our first game. And then don't be afraid to talk about these things. Let people know, hey, we realize that not having a paint booth was a big deal to a lot of people. We realize that we gotta put statistics in this game. That's a big fucking deal in a sports game. So we have heard you, and we're working on that. If I heard something like that, that would make me feel better as a consumer. And it would help me say, you know what? Even though the first game is lacking in so many areas, they're listening. The message is coming through. But I'm not getting that. And now we're in 2017. We still haven't heard anything. And stop. As a personal message to DMR, take a step back. Stop focusing on DLC and all this. Focus on the things that matter. I want a fully fleshed out game that's worth $50, $60. Why is it that in 2017, every new game that comes out, we're getting less content, less presentation for our money? If you look at the Thunder series from 11, 12, 13 years ago, think about that. Those games, night and day better, fully fleshed out. You got so much more for your money. That's an embarrassment. To any developer, should be embarrassed that now in today's day and age, you can't make a game that is at least the equal of a game from that long ago on far more inferior hardware and consoles. And you can't even match that? Hell, if you just came out and redid NASCAR Thunder 2005 and just updated it with modern day graphics, that would be the best NASCAR game ever. If you didn't even touch anything else, make your employees play these games so that they realize, oh my God, we need to do more of this. Look at this. Look at the pre-race commentary. Look at the way they go down the entire field and talk about all the cars and the player. Listen to that pre-race commentary. Look at this victory lane celebration. You don't even fucking have a post-race celebration. You finish a race and nothing fucking happens. Make your employees play these games. Play the NBA 2K series so you can see what a fully fleshed out career mode, so they can see what presentation is all about. And maybe they'll be inspired to at least step their game up. So, what do you guys think? What do you expect in 2017 with this next game? What do you consider a make or break? In other words, like with me, stats, the paint booth, and the improvement with the cautions and the AI and that stuff. That is a must for me. To me, that's make or break. And if they don't address at least that, it would be an absolute failure. So what is your line? Is there a line that you drew in the sand that you said you need to do this or I'm done? So I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that is, and I look forward to your comments. So, hopefully I'll have more to talk about in the near future. Hopefully they put out some kind of information that I could talk about. Otherwise, it'll be a while before I do another video. As I said before, I don't do this for attention. I don't monetize this stuff. This is strictly somebody who's a hardcore fan of NASCAR as a sport, and I'm interested in getting a decent NASCAR game. So that's all this is about. So I'll see you guys whenever, and hopefully DMR listens to us, and I hope they're just too busy right now working hard on the game, because I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of news. So I look forward to your comments.